After you go through all of your theme options and experiment with the settings for a while, you might still feel like your website is missing something. To a certain degree, you'll have to work within the framework of the design that you picked, but there are a few other options if you need your site to do extra stuff that wasn't included in your theme. Here they are in order from simplest to more complex solutions. Make sure to find out if your theme has any special shortcodes that you can use. These will provide quick ways to add media players, buttons, image sliders, and some of those extra widgets directly to posts and pages instead of just sidebars or footers. This theme even recommended that I install a specific plugin that added a new section of my dashboard with a list of all the shortcodes available. You'll see them wrapped in square brackets like this, and would just need to copy and paste that into a post, page, or widget to display that feature. When I create a new playlist in this audio player, it'll generate a shortcode that can be copied and pasted anywhere I want that player to appear. The shortcodes plugin that came with my theme even added a new button to my toolbar in the Compose window that gives me quick access to them. Not every theme will use these, but it's pretty common and they'll be really helpful if you've got some. Regardless of your theme, you can always install third-party shortcode plugins that will give you some useful ones to work with, and WordPress also has a few of them already built into it. If you need to embed YouTube, SoundCloud, or Mixcloud players in a post or page though, you can just paste the URL directly and it will embed automatically as long as you hit enter so it occupies its own line. The WordPress embed shortcode does the same thing when it's wrapped around a URL, but doesn't require that it be on a separate line. It also lets you define a height and width like this, and works with any of the WordPress themes and most of the popular social media sites like Instagram, Twitter, and Spotify. Check the embed section of the WordPress Codex for the most up-to-date list of sites that will embed links automatically. Don't underestimate the power of plugins. If your website is missing something important, or you just don't like the way it handles any of the features, search for a plugin that will do it better. You can find one that will help manage events, add a message board, speed up your site, or increase security. The simple PayPal shopping cart plugin makes it easy to sell tickets and merchandise, or you can post on all of your social media profiles at once with a social networks auto poster plugin like the one from NextScripts. This whole training kit is actually running on a combination of two plugins that work together to turn regular WordPress posts into units and then create the different membership levels that grant access to them. I'm using another plugin called Login Page Styler to add a logo and customize the first screen that you see when logging in here. Make sure to do some digging in the Install Plugins section and check the featured, popular, and recommended pages to see what else is available and get some inspiration. Remember to scope them out properly and always keep them up to date. I know that I said you wouldn't have to learn any computer languages to do this, and you really don't, but having a few simple commands at your disposal will give you some shortcuts and allow you to customize your design even more. HTML is kind of like what you see when you look at a YouTube embed code, or if you take a peek at one of your posts in text mode instead of the visual setting that we've been using. You can also put HTML in a text widget to display extra images or links that you might want in your sidebars or footers. It's basically just a series of tags for different types of content and some styling instructions. A web browser will then translate that code into what you see displayed on the screen. I guess you could call it one of the most widely used languages in the world at this point, so it couldn't hurt to pick up a few basic commands and at least get comfortable looking at it. You'll see HTML code wrapped inside triangle brackets like this. These tags usually come in pairs placed on either side of some text or a link. Sort of like the period in a sentence, they include a backslash the second time they appear to end the command like this. Adding an open triangle bracket, BR, close triangle bracket after something will behave just like hitting enter on your keyboard by creating a break and forcing everything after that to the next line. This IMG SRC tag will display the image file at that URL with the alt text that you specify in the size that you set the width and height at. You should resize all of your images ahead of time in some photo software and input the actual size in pixels here for a faster loading site. This avoids the extra processing time a browser would need to resize that image every time the page loads. Technically, the original image in this case could have different dimensions, but this will still display it at that size of 200 by 200 pixels. Note that this is one of the few commands that just finish with a closed triangle bracket instead of ending the line with the \img that you might expect in most HTML tags. The ahref tag here will display title of your mix as a clickable text link that leads to the yourmix.mp3 address in quotations. I like offering a raw link like this for music files instead of using audio players. That way it'll open up in whatever player the user already has set as their favorite, and whether it downloads or streams is a choice that they've made with their browser preferences. If it's an original song that you don't want people to be able to download easily though, using a built-in streaming player or embedding something would be a better idea. You can always force the link to download though by adding download equals true between the URL and title of your mix. If you want to put a clickable image in place of the title of your mix, do that by adding the IMG SRC stuff instead of just plain text inside that triangle bracket area. This is great for making cool buttons in your sidebars instead of just showing plain text links, sort of like what I did here for my RSS feed in these podcast directory pages. To include those in a post or page, you can definitely do it a lot faster with the visual editor by adding the image with Add Media and then attaching a link. That's what I do to add this More button beside each song in my track listings to give people extra info. But to do that in a sidebar, you would need to put some HTML into a text widget. Going back and forth between the visual and text editor in the Compose window actually gives you a really great HTML translation service. You can create something here visually, then switch over to text mode and just copy and paste that code into a text widget to show clickable banners and buttons in sidebars or footers. A website like word2html.net will also do the same thing and allow you to translate quickly from a visual composition to HTML if you need it. When you click on one of the links in the tags that we've looked at so far, it'll go right to that destination in the same window you're currently browsing in. But a lot of the time, you'll want the link to open in a fresh new window instead. This will allow somebody to keep exploring your website while the music plays in a separate tab. To make that happen, you'll set a target for the link by adding target = blank after the href address in quotations with one space between them. If you're working with an image link that you added in the Compose window of WordPress, you can left-click once on it, select the Edit Pencil icon, and then check the box beside Open Link in a new tab. To get the same result in HTML, just add the target = blank tag after the URL and before the IMG SRC chunk of code so that it looks like this. The p-style tag is what you'll need to change how your text looks if you want it to be different than the way you have things set in your theme options. Some common adjustments might be the alignment, font, size, or color. Just leave any of those tags between the quotation marks out if you don't want that quality of the text to be altered. For example, if I only wanted to center the text without any other changes, I could just use this text align center part. If I wanted it to just be bigger and green, I could include the ones for font size and color. For more color variety than the basic ones, you can also use hex values there instead, which would look like this for black or this one for white. You can find the number for really specific colors in your favorite photo and paint programs. In GIMP, use the color picker tool to select one and then make a note of the hex number in your palette beside HTML notation. Just add the hashtag number sign in front and don't forget that there's a semicolon and space after each item. There are lots of sites that will give you the values for any colors you might want to use, along with suggestions for ones that complement each other. Google hex colors to find them or check the helpful links and resources section of this kit in the HTML section. Those are pretty much the only HTML tags I've ever needed to use, and mostly just in the text widget areas to display some extra images. On my discobreak.com site, I used some IMG SRCs to show this history of portable radio in my left sidebar, and also to add some GIFs in the footer widgets on discobreaks.com. I also find it easier to copy and paste the HTML code from the text view of my previous podcast episode into a new post, and then just change the file name and track listing instead of starting from scratch each time. There are lots of sites and tutorials on the internet that list all of the other HTML commands you could experiment with, but the tags we just went over here will be the most useful ones for your music site. They're also listed under this video so that you can copy and paste them easily to use as templates. WordPress was designed to be extremely easy for anybody to use, but it also has a lot of stuff built in to make it really versatile if you know how to write and edit some code. CSS stands for Custom Style Sheet, and it's a little different than HTML, but the two of them work together. HTML is used to determine the structure and content of a web page. CSS is mainly for the layout and style of the design. If you've tried everything else but still need to customize your theme some more, maybe you'll need to hire a WordPress professional to make a few tweaks for you. You should be able to find a specialist that can make custom changes for you pretty quickly and cheaply. Check out sites like freelancer.com, fiverr.com, or ask around on your social networks because you probably already know a few WordPress experts. Some of the theme developers will even offer extra customization services for a small price, which is great because they'll know the inner workings of that theme better than anybody. They're also usually pretty open to suggestions for things that they could add or improve on in their next update, so feel free to send them a request for new features if it's not something that you can customize on your own.